So, tonight's the night. The season premiere is here. Are you ready? I know I am.
All right, have and have not fans. Here we are with the first episode review of 2019. We're talking Speak Through It, which is, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't even want to say this was a season premiere. I know it sounds weird. It's like, Jeremy, the promotional said season premiere. A few of the cast members said season premiere. But you want to know how I feel about the episode? I thought it was pretty good. I'm not saying it was the best. I do think it was a solid episode. I have watched it twice. Maybe I shouldn't say this at the beginning, but I think my score for the episode is an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. I was going to give it an 8.5, but there are some things about the episode that I feel a bit nitpicky about, and I'll get into that as the video goes on. So who knows, by the time I actually get to the end of this video, the score might be bumped up because, you know, I might feel a different way about it. But just so you know, 8 out of 10 as of right now. That's subject to change. But with the episode itself, the reason I don't call it a season premiere is because, remember at the beginning of the episode, it said previously on the haves and the have-nots. And when they said that, they only had scenes from the last episode exhausted. Typically speaking, during the premiere of a season, it'll say last season on the haves and the have-nots. And they'll have various scenes from across the entire season all rolled into one. Because this is episode, if I'm not mistaken, 35 of season 5. We had about 10 or so episodes left after this one. Then we jump into season 6, which is allegedly 10 episodes. And then we get to season 7, the one that was filmed last September. So when I watched this episode, I didn't treat it as a season premiere, but I did say that I'll treat it as okay, this is probably going to be good setup for what's to come in the upcoming episodes. So I want to say that before jumping into the video. And with that being said, let's just talk about the first scene that we got when the episode opened up.
Right here. Stay close. You're gonna be all right. In the name of Jesus, you're gonna be all right.
All right, so the episode basically opens up where we left off with Hannah cradling Benny on the steps. Pretty much, you know, I mean, to be completely honest here, I'm surprised Hannah isn't in the asylum because this woman has been through so much that it's almost, you know, enough to drive her hysterical. The fact that every time she turns around, there's some drama, death, or accident in her life. And I was saying this towards the end of last year, like, I feel for Hannah. Yes, there have been plenty of times where she's been annoying, hypocritical, just nonstop. Okay, Hannah, when are you going to accept somebody's help? But if you look at the last several episodes of 2018, she was going through it because of what her kids were putting her through. Benny not signing the documents, being threatened by Jim, Candace sending a thug over, just to name a few things. And then on top of that, her son is left for dead outside of the apartment, the condominium. And I remember when I first saw that scene, I'm like, man, Hannah, you did this to yourself. Why did you kick him out? But then I just, no. As that scene went on and Hannah was laying out facts, like, after everything Catherine Cryer has done, you don't want to give back the money so you can get the heck out of here. So that was on Benny. Not only that, you know, him not going into the house when Mitch told him to. Then on top of that, why were you sitting out on the stoop? If you were so dead set on not going back in the house, what were you going to do? Like, literally, you had your box of stuff and that was it. No plan, no money, because you remember he had given the $45,000 back to the Malones at this point. So what the hell? And then he got, you know, in the condition he's in, where yes, everybody kept saying shot. So I think it is safe to say, folks, Benny Young was shot. Again, why didn't Hannah hear anything? We could just chalk it up to the fact that, well, there must have been a silencer, or because the TV was so loud and Hannah was laughing, she didn't hear anything. But that's about it. So, you know, Hannah's, you know, pretty much, you know, holding her son. And then we see, we hear the sirens of the ambulance, 911 arriving on the scene. And then we go back to the David's house, and just like I expected, just like I predicted. Remember, I predicted this. I said when it comes down to it, Madison's going to be the one to call 911, to rush to Veronica's aid to see if he could help her out, while Jeffrey's just standing there. And it's one of those scenes where a character does a little, but they say a lot. You know, just the fact that he was like, you know, had one arm on the handle of the balcony and was just, you know, staring down. And Madison's like, Jeffrey, call 911. And he's like, Jeffrey, she could die. I want that bitch to die, but she's like a cockroach. She doesn't die. And then Madison is like begging him to do something. And he's like, Jeffrey, what's the address? Jeffrey, what's the address? And he's like, you have a good night. And he goes back upstairs like he don't give a damn. And the one thing about this scene that really stood out to me, aside from Jeffrey's reaction or lack of a reaction that was hilarious, was even though she was being helped, she was trying to be saved. All Veronica would do is say, get your homosexual hands off me. Stop touching me. Basically rejecting the help of a homosexual. I mean, even on the possible brink of death, like let's say if all of her bones were broken, she would rather die than accept help from a man just because he's a homosexual. Now, I don't know about you all. Like, I was born in 91. I know I say this a lot referencing my age because I know this channel is full of people from different age groups, but I did grow up watching TV Land and classic shows like Sanford and Son, All in the Family, Chips, Bewitched, and the Jeffersons, Good Times. And there was one episode of the Jeffersons that really stood out to me. When I was looking at this scene, I thought about it. It was the scene where in the apartment complex that George stays in, and I'm bad with names, but I do know one of their next door neighbors or whatnot in the same apartment was the white guy married to the black woman. And they went to this meeting in the apartment building, and it was like a white supremacy KKK-esque kind of group. And I remember in the episode, the guy leading it, because George was the only black guy there, and they didn't know what was going on. And he had like a heart attack or something, and George gave him CPR. And when he came to, he's like, who saved my life? And the guy's son said, Mr. Jefferson did. And because it was a black man, he's like, you should have let me die. And I was like, oh my God. So the prejudice is, in this situation, it's the same. Veronica and then the guy that had a heart attack or whatever, their prejudice is stronger than their will to live. They would rather die than be saved by someone that they don't like. So let me just play that clip real quick so you can get the comparison here.
You bastard.
Wish guy hated. He said, you should have let me die.
He saved my life?
Yeah.
You should have let me die.
But the son really changed after he saw what Sherman did. It was a wonderful episode.
They never change. You saved their life and they still don't change.
Yeah, so as you can see, that was a very good scene if you ask me. Then we get to the hospital, and this is going to be my first nitpick. All right, so, you know, Hannah's in the hospital talking. Dang, I'm sorry about that. Sheesh, okay, I've been sitting a bit. My back's a bit stiff. Basically, Hannah was talking to one of the nurses just to see if there was an update on Benny's condition. And they don't have anything yet. So, you know, just going to have to be patient and relax. But, you know, that's difficult for her to do. Derek shows up on the scene, comforts Hannah. And, you know, I feel bad for the guy. Remember, he was coming back to the house later on for dinner. So, you know, obviously that wasn't the case. So I can only guess that because Derek arrived, maybe Hannah gave him a phone call to let him know what was going on, because I'm pretty sure if 911 came and got Benny, then Derek probably would have been in the ambulance with him or following behind in his truck. But since he arrived, you know, saying I'm here, I'm going to speculate that he got a phone call. So again, one of those little things that didn't need to be shown on screen, and that's not what I'm going to nitpick about. Mitch shows up. Hannah gets on his ass about it. This is what pisses me off. This goes back to last season. Remember in like episode, I think it was the end of episode 2 when Veronica arrives at the hospital after the car wreck and Benny's holding her hand and Hannah sees, and then in the next episode, episode 3, Hannah jumps on his case about it. But in that situation, Benny was literally a hero. He saved her life and was there because nobody else was. And then Mitch shows up, and then Hannah jumps on him about it. It's like, oh, so you know Miss Veronica too? Like, what are you talking about? No, I'm just here because Benny called. Oh no, I'm here because I was with Benny. And then she walks off. This situation, okay, now I've said before, Mitch is like my favorite character in the show right now. He's been a friend. He's gone above and beyond the call of duty. As he said multiple times last season, Benny, don't get involved with my family. Don't take this money. Look, that chick's in love with you, referring to Veronica. Why don't you get the money from her? You saved her life. That way you don't have to get involved with the family. Even when they get down to the Iron Bone bar to borrow the money from Uncle Vinny, Mitch is the one that vouches for Benny in order to get the money because this is Candace Young's brother, the one that, the family owes a favor to because of Warlock. And then after being handed the money, Mitch is like, dude, you're still in here. You can get the money back. It's not too late. But if you walk out of that door, that's it. You can't give it back without interest. Of course. I mean, you can give it back without the interest. No, he rushes off because he gets a phone call from Veronica. Then after that, after finding Benny in a bind, he goes to the family to see if he can pay without the interest, basically putting his own relationship with his family on the line for his friend. Because remember, Mama Rose told David that, that's my grandson. He wants a legitimate job to go straight. He doesn't want to be involved with the family, but he does call upon us time to time when he needs a favor. So yeah, him not being involved with the family means that his favor line, so to speak, is somewhat limited because he's kind of an outsider, even though he's a part of the family. So it's one of those things where, okay, Mitch, we can do this favor for you, but you're not involved in the family, so you can't pay us back, so to speak, by doing us a favor. So Mitch put not only his life on the line. Yeah, there have been times where he's been threatened by his own family, but his his ability to ask for favors just to help out Benny. And then on top of that, Hannah has heard about this twice. She knows who Mitch is and what his family does. This has been explained to her twice. You can argue that, well, remember, Jeremy, that one time she was on a happy pill, but at the same time, that was the second time she was told that. Remember that episode when after Benny got out of the bar when he was at gunpoint, and then Mitch goes to the bar and sees his uncle there on the ground, goes back to Hannah's house to talk with Benny, and he's in a yelling match with Benny about what happened, and Hannah wakes up because it's right outside of the window. Then Benny tells her exactly what was going down. Mitch's family, I got the money from them, they're gangsters. So her acting like, what does your family have to do with this? That just pissed me the hell off. And then the fact that he wanted to be there for his friend, because remember, he didn't have to call. If anyone should be upset at anyone, it should be everybody at Benny, because he's the one that got into this mess. So her lashing out, look, I get it. Her son is in the hospital on the brink of death because allegedly Mitch's family did this. But Mitch is the last person that anyone should catch an attitude with. So that's what really upset me about that scene. And the reason I say allegedly his family, I'm not going to lie. I still think the Malones did it, but the more we go into this, Tyler Perry could be riding us into a trap, so to speak, where somebody unexpected was the culprit. I've done plenty of videos on this subject. Did Quita have something to do with it? Did Jim have something to do with it? I think Veronica should be exempt because she was busy with other activities. Did Charles have something to do with this? And you should definitely check out the channel because those videos go in depth into the different angles as to what happened. And I'm going to make a quick beeline into the season trailer we got. We did get a brief scene between Mitch and Candace at the Malone bar, and Mitch even says, so do you really want to know what happened to Benny? And the look on her face is kind of like, okay, maybe what we thought happened didn't happen. What if it turns out Charles is the guy that did it? We'll just have to wait and see, folks. But with that being said, this scene really pissed me off. I can understand emotions are high, but once again, Mitch is the one that was trying to keep her son out of harm's way. He was the one that didn't listen. Remember, he didn't listen when he said, look, stay in the hotel lobby because those two goons at the bar were probably Malones. Guess what? He gets a phone call from Derek to come home. He does. He almost gets killed in the parking lot. He calls Benny, who's sitting out on the stoop. Benny, get in the house right now. Nope, he stays out there, and that's how he ends up in the condition he's in. So Mitch, No, 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 no. You're not going to be mad at Mitch out of anyone else. Just no. So thankfully, he states his case. This is a public hospital. He's my friend. I'm going to sit here and wait. So that was that. Okay, let's see what we have here. After that, we have a brief scene between Madison and Jeffrey. Not much to dissect here. Madison is just completely unaware. And I mean, he's a new character. He doesn't know. He doesn't know how evil Veronica is. So, you know, this isn't a simple case of, well, you know, it's understandable how some parents are somewhat either homophobic or unaccepting of their child for being gay. It goes a lot deeper than that. So it looks like they end up going out for a bite to eat. And I love how he tries to squeeze in there in terms of, and then after we get something to eat, we can go check on your mom. Like, don't push it. So I'm glad that was the thing. That was pretty good. After that, we get to this next scene here.
Know what I've done to my son.
It's okay.
He's dead, and I'm the reason.
Yeah, quite a scene. Like when I first saw it and, you know, the crying and whatnot, I'm like, here we go again with Candace. But I was actually shocked. The fact that she was accepting responsibility. How can it be that starting off a new year and we had a scene where I actually loved Candace Young? It was amazing. The fact that she was really accepting, you know, that it was her son that she allowed to die based off her actions. It wasn't her blaming anyone. So Charles jumping in there to comfort her. And not only that, just let it out. Just let it out. That's pretty much it. But then, you know, the walls are going back up. She's going back into Candace Young mode. Pretty much, no, I'm just going to stop being sorry for myself and everything and blaming it on me. Hopefully this means she isn't going to resort to blaming on others. But I'm just glad that we got this one scene. I enjoyed it. I literally did. It wasn't, and I think I did I think it was like an Instagram post. It's like, no matter what, Candace, I feel bad. Sometimes I feel bad for Candace when she's crying, but then next thing you know, she does a bitchy move that just makes me disgusted at myself for even feeling sorry for her. But in this one scene, I did like it. Yeah, because the scene opened up with Charles in bed, realizing Candace isn't there and goes to the bathroom. So yeah, I really did love this scene between the two, even more than that. Well, actually, let me say that bit for just a couple minutes. We do get more discussion about what's to come in terms of, hey, I'm going to the Oval Office and I want you to come with me. So we could be seeing the Oval Office a bit sooner than I expected, not to mention that they're going to meet with the current president and first lady. And I've already done a video on that. I think it was talking about, are the Obamas not the current White House couple? And that is actually wrong, because in season 2 it was mentioned that the Obamas were in the White House, but they might have retconned it. Maybe Obama did not win a second term. So yeah, very interesting. Yeah, so that's actually a thing that's going to happen soon. And the president and first lady have been cast already. They are a white couple, so that's going to be interesting itself. And no, they are not the Trumps. So hopefully we see that within the upcoming episodes here. Probably not in an upcoming episode in terms of between January and March. Again, I don't know how long we're going to get episodes before we get a break this year, but I'm just going to assume the beginning of January to either mid-March, take a break. We'll pick up in May 1st like we did last year. But once again, that's just an estimation or a guess on my part. I don't know for sure. So I'm thinking maybe in the back half of 2019 is when we'll finally see the Oval Office. But then after that, you know, Candace gets a phone call. It's Mitch. Like I predicted, Mitch will be the person to call her about it, that Benny's in the hospital. And what really got me about this, Charles, without hesitation, put on his clothes, Landon, call the hospital, let's get this going. And I liked it because I thought it was funny when you think about the comparison of Charles asking Candace for what, you know, the information for the hospital, and she eventually caved in. It's like, no, you're not going. I'm going by myself. And she just went along with it, compared to earlier in the episode where Madison is the one trying to rush to somebody's aid and Jeffrey wouldn't give up the information if his life depended on it. So I do like how Charles did not hesitate at all in order to, you know, get things ready to carry Candace down there because of her brother. So I did like that a lot, which, I mean, to be completely honest, I'm surprised she did not break down. Remember, this woman was just crying in the floor of a bathroom over her son. And now she put on her, you know, I guess in a way you can almost say like Jim Cryer's captain said, those crocodile tears. Next thing you know, the next morning, you'll grease up your hair, you'll put on your suit and tie and just walk out like nothing ever happened. So for Candace to just shut down like that emotionally, go back to her old self, and then right after that get a call about her brother being shot, I'm surprised she was able to keep it together. So that was something in itself. I'm not going to say that's a nitpick. I thought it was just an interesting way of transitioning the scene. So there's that. Let me see what else we have here. Mitch calls about Benny. Yeah, so I think I'm jumping a little bit ahead, but kind of going to the hospital itself. Landon pretty much meets with like the chief of staff, the doctor on call, or pretty much the head doctor of the night, pretty much to give him a heads up that, hey, you need to tell me, is Benjamin Young here? Where are all the rooms for all of the children? Basically, because the president-elect is coming, and we need to get you ready for being on the 5 o'clock news. And pretty much, I just love how things were handled quick and efficiently. I do like that. Then we get to another scene, which is very interesting.
I know you. I know your reputation. I know you're a good lawyer.
I'm a damn good lawyer.
Locally.
Well, shoot your best shot.
Now, I remember somebody sent me this clip before the episode aired Tuesday night, and I have to say that I got excited. You know, I was in the midst of my brooding at the time, but I thought, finally, this bitch is going down. The Ice Queen is about to be dethroned and dragged to the gallows. Wait, is that what they called it? Wait, in like olden times, you know, like in England and stuff, they would hang people on the gallows, and then they had the guillotine to, like, you know, decapitate someone, you know, like a king or a ruler that they wanted to get rid of. So I was thinking, wow, we got one clip where Candace is finally admitting that she's been wrong, and then we have another clip where Veronica finally looks like she gets hers. Now, we can talk about, oh, she doesn't have any broken bones. She's a bit like her tightened up, like her muscles or whatnot are tightened up. They did name drop the thug that Veronica called in order to bomb Erica's vehicle. And no, I did not jot down his name, but I know somebody will be helpful enough to tell me in the comment section. But aside from that, you know, it looked like Veronica had finally, you know, gotten hers. It's like, yeah, you're a good attorney. I'm a damn good attorney, at least in this part of the country, but you're dealing with the FBI. It's like, this has, you know, crossed the borders of you being a private citizen the moment you brought bombing on American soil. I'm like, oh my God. But guess what? This heifer turned this around by calling that man out for being a drug user, coke, just being an addict. I was first excited that Veronica was finally getting hers, but then she proved to be the cockroach that Jeffrey, and remember Landon even called her out for being back in like season 3, because remember he told Candace, despite everything, I like her. I just hate her so much, but I like her because no matter what situation she's put in there, like a cockroach, she will survive somehow. She will adapt, escape, and live on for another day. So I do like the cockroach analogy because once again, Jeffrey and Landon have both used it to describe Veronica. So the fact that even in a hospital bed, she is still the cold bitch that she always is. This was arguably my favorite scene of the episode. Arguably, because there's one scene that counters it, but this scene was just amazing. I mean, saying so much as, go out of here, go get your fix, go get it. You're sweating so much, you're leaving a puddle on my hospital floor. And then, you know, he was pissed as soon as he walked out of the room. He's like, we need to wall this bitch. We need to nail her to the wall. We need to find as many people as you can in her circle and press them until one of them breaks. Okay, I like this. The fact that these two FBI agents seem to be more competent than the first two, the ones that arrested the bomber and the ones who went to Veronica's house, but they had no hard evidence to even keep her. It's like, oh, well, let's just see let's see how good of an attorney she is. That was stupid. These guys, even though Veronica called the one out for being an addict or a user, yes, that was embarrassing, but this gives him even more motivation to do things the right way, where he's not pulling a George and just trying to get false information from people. He wants to manhandle the people in Veronica's circle in order to get information. But believe it or not, unbeknownst to him, there are people more than willing to give him up. And I think it was pretty interesting. I don't know if Hannah and Derek heard this, but those agents and the doctor were walking by Hannah and Derek sitting there, and Mrs. Harrington came up. So I don't know if they know what was going on. Not to mention, Veronica was in the room like right down the hall. So did Hannah and Derek see Veronica being brought into the hospital? Or was she brought in through a different hallway and they didn't see it? Because it's pretty clear that Hannah and Derek and Mitch were at the hospital before we get to the scene. Well, actually, yeah, they were at the hospital because the scene before that was when Madison was helping Veronica when she was on the floor. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to assume that she was brought in through another door or something and they didn't see her, because I think that's pretty interesting if that was the case. All right, so yeah, I just feels like, you know, she just showed him up the fact that they had all this information on Veronica, but they didn't know the one thing, which is I own a drug rehab facility. So that was pretty damn cool. I will admit I did smile at that. Then speaking of rehab, we go back to, and I'm skipping around because there's one scene I'm saving for last. We get over to Jim's house. He's talking with Leo. And, you know, I was thinking to myself, I know he isn't going to try to persuade them to let him go and whatnot if he pays them more than what Jim is, because, well, he doesn't have any money. And aside from that, Sarah shows up again strangely. I really don't know why she's there. I mean, could she be wearing a wire? I mean, I don't know. She is adamant about finding Jim. So if she was there and has a wire, she knows Jim is going to check. So I think she's just there to be there, just to see what can happen. So I don't know. But then Wyatt is pretty much, you know, well, his father is showing, let's just put it that way. And I mean, I can't blame him. I mean, Sarah is pretty damn fine. You know, he eventually convinces her to stay and is like, I'm going to make a phone call to see if I can get him. Then, you know, Leo follows him up the stairs. I think it was Leo or the other dude, but they follow him up the stairs while Sarah's in the kitchen. And that's pretty much it. Two things about it. Does Wyatt have more facial hair than the last time we saw him? I could be wrong. And secondly, it looks like he's sweating a lot. And I could be wrong, but is he showing signs of needing a hit just like that FBI agent was? Because this is the first time it looks like, maybe it was the lighting, I don't know, but it looked like he was sweating like he really needed a hit. Because this is the first time since he's been out of jail that it looks like he's showing signs of needing to use right now. That's probably why he was coming on to Sarah. I don't know why, but we'll just have to wait and see. Not much to talk about this scene. It just really confuses me as to why she's back at the house. I mean, you could just say, well, Jeremy, she made it pretty clear that she wanted to talk with Jim, but I just figured I don't really see the use in that because, well, he discovered the wire. He didn't say anything incriminating, but we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. Let's see here. Then we get to, speaking of Jim, we get to the hospital, and well, actually, right before the commercial break, we just get a brief scene. Very nice nurse helping out David. It looks like it's like almost like a burn suit. I don't really know the medical term, but it's almost like a burn suit to help him heal faster. She already said that he's healing pretty quickly. He can't go home yet, but it wouldn't be too long because once again, he is healing pretty quickly. You know, just a nice quiet scene in the midst of a crazy episode. And next thing you know, Jim pops in and just being an asshole. It was just ridiculous how that's turned out. Pretty much telling the nurse to get the hell out of here. She says that, oh, it's exciting. You know, we have a visit from the president-elect, because Jim was talking about how hard it was to actually, you know, come into the hospital, obviously because Landon and Secret Service were securing the area for Charles to arrive. And it's like, Charles? It's like, oh, you say it like you know him. It's like, yes, I do. And it's like, yeah, very good. He's going to visit the children. Now get your ass out of here. I'm like, really, Jim? And even David calls him out for it. And I did think it was kind of a weird transition. I think that maybe the commercial break could have happened before we even get to David in the hospital. I think it was kind of weird how we had David and the nurse, commercial break, Jim shows up. I think it could have been put together into one scene. But that's just me. Not even a nitpick that's taking off points, but I just think it was a weird way to edit and shot the video. or the episode. And pretty much, you know, Jim and David are talking about how things are going, and it's just showing how much of an asshole Jim is, because he arrives and it's like, you know, how are you? I'm not doing well. And I'm just like, dude, this guy has his back barbecued and he's bitching less than you are about life. So what are you talking about? And they pretty much talk about the situation, how, you know, yeah, a bimbo named Sarah, and it's like, well, you use her past against her. And it's like, well, the DA probably knows about it. So David pretty much is saying, well, you know, just talk with Catherine to see if you can get out of this mess, because there's nothing else that can be done. And I think this was one of my favorite scenes of the episode, in terms of, I love like the self-awareness of what's up with these women and these younger men. You know, I went over to Veronica's house. She was with some young boy, referring to RK. And then, you know, even Benjamin Young, when you think about it. Then you got Catherine with Broderick. And then it's like, don't sound so surprised, David, as in this isn't the first time she's obviously, you know, been with other people. And then it's like, what about us? And it's like, well, we're different. So I love the self-awareness. It wasn't just the men talking about, look at these women with younger men. They took a look at themselves with, okay, we're grown men in our 50s or 50 and above with these younger girls. Well, how old is Erica, or was Erica, you know, before she died? And I'm like, dude, really? And it's like, well, how old was Candace? 114 or whatever he said. I like this scene. Okay, and what really made it bad was, like, you know, when Jim kind of, like, you know, patted David on the back and he's like, ooh, oh, did that hurt? That was a dick move, but I thought it was funny in a sense of, okay, these two are really boys like that. You know, they're boys, they're friends, because only a friend could do a, you know, something as low down as that. Kind of like back to last season, after, you know, Catherine said, I'm getting a divorce, closed all of Jim's accounts. And Jim went over to David's house trying to get some money. And it's like, oh, you gave your cards to that bitch or that whore, but you're not going to give me anything. And then, you know, he was giving Jim some cash, like, come on, give me the wallet, give me everything. And I'm like, yeah, that's just a friend for you. And I mean, yeah, I know they're, you know, friends, if you will. But I think in a way, even though they're friends, you can tell that Jim is the Veronica, that friendship, kind of like, you know, Veronica's only friends with Catherine in order to make herself look good, you know, socially, but she isn't really there in the trenches when Catherine needs it. Kind of like, you know, David's the one who's in pain and whatnot, and Jim only shows up because he's in a jam and needs some help. So, yeah. And you can also say, well, you know, what Jim did to David's back that put him in pain, that was kind of the payback that he promised David back after David beat his ass in the jail cell, when he thought that Jim had something to do with Veronica being dead, when he rolled up to the house and saw a dead body, which was actually Maggie Day, and Veronica was the one that called the hit. So Jim was innocent, and he said he would get David back for it. And I think that was kind of like, you know, the payback is a bitch. So that was a funny scene. It was messed up, but it was actually pretty funny. I really love those David and Jim scenes a lot. Let's see here. Okay. Then the closeout scene was, as I predicted a long time ago. Basically, excuse me. Basically, we get a scene where, you know, Secret Service comes in, clears the entire waiting room aside from Mitch, Derek, and Hannah, and Charles and Candace arrive, leaving us the preview for next week's episode, which I already did a video on. But there is one scene, of course, that I have to talk about, and it has to do with Mrs. Cryer. All right, and now we get to two separate scenes of the episode. I'm just going to lump into one, because you really can't have one without the other. And I found this was probably the most interesting thing to talk about in the episode itself. And we get a brand new Catherine Cryer, so to speak, you know, pretty much picking up where you left off. You know, the fact that she basically has Broderick right where she wants him, the flip side of what he thought would happen in the last episode. And if you go back to my episode review for Exhausted, I talked about how I really didn't like the fact that he pretty much just spilled the beans on everything. I thought this was going to be a storyline that would have been stretched out at least for the next half season or so. Like, it would have been very interesting for, let's say, Hannah to accept the job at the hotel, kind of like of the chief of staff, if you will, to kind of guide the cleaning crew on how to do things. and it would be a nice way to make some extra money. And Hannah even accepted that, but that was before the whole walking away from Catherine's house, leaving the car and everything else there. And, you know, let's say if she somehow gets word or whatnot about the prostitution ring, the fact that Broderick and them were running it and then brought that information to Catherine, unbeknownst to her, having an affair with Broderick, that would have made for an interesting storyline. But he pretty much has told it all, then even wanted to say, I'll just accuse you of sexual harassment. But now the tables have turned, and, you know, she is willing and able to have him deported if necessary. But, oh no, I'm going to have you around. And if anything, it reminds me of Jim and Celine. Do Catherine and Jim have a thing for foreign people? I mean, I'm not against the shoot. I remember my first semester at Liberty, I pretty much, you know, learned that, wow, I love Puerto Rican women. So, wow, it must be the accent. But in any case, yeah, Catherine pretty much has Broderick right where she wants him. She wants the prostitution ring completely shut down. Not only that, give me information about Candace, who else is involved. Next thing you know, Rocky's brought up to the room with champagne. And just, I feel like it's hard for me to tell. I think that I can't really identify who's the MVP of the episode, because I want to give it to either Veronica or Catherine, but I can't decide because both women, I feel like in terms of the character who had the most fun, it was definitely Catherine. She was having the time of her life. The idea of two attractive young men in the room. It's been years since I had a threesome, meaning that she's done this before. So yeah, very interesting. Rocky comes up, and another slight, and I mean a slight nitpick. For one, you know, I wish Rocky would have gotten better dialogue than constantly saying, I don't want to get in trouble, when referencing the fact that if Catherine wants him to get off of not being brought down by the prostitution ring, or having, you know, her friends at, you know, I forgot what she said, like national security or whatnot, even though Rocky is a legitimate, you know, immigrant, I guess, because he's been in the States for 10 years from England, and he does have a legal visa. Catherine Cryer could screw that up for him. But, you know, he keeps saying, I don't want to get in trouble. And it's like, well, tell me everything you know about Candace. Make her go down for the prostitution ring, because you're mad at her as well for what happened to the side of your head. Number one, I could be wrong, but it looked like there's actually some bruising on the side of Rocky's head, which is something I didn't see before, because the last time we saw Rocky, if I'm not mistaken, was the one scene where we seen him and Broderick together again after so long, at the front desk at the Artesian Hotel, and it looked like Broderick was blocking the side of Rocky's head where he was hit so many times with the golf club, because before that, you know, we had seen him in the back room talking to RK, but he had the bandage and everything on the side on his head. And then I was like, you know what? Did he not bruise or anything? But it kind of looks like he got bruised up. So I guess that's consistency. And then going back to I'm sorry. I wish you could have said, like, look, you know, the last time I gave information on Candace, this is what happened to me, you know, referencing being beaten up. And then Catherine could just say, you know, fine, I'll protect you. Don't worry about it. I think that would have been better than him just saying, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble. Speaking of body language, I just love how Broderick was like, dude, no need of stumbling over your words. Just roll with it. I think he even said it would be a lot easier if you just do what she says. She already knows everything. Come on. That was pretty funny. And even more so when Catherine started to hit on Rocky saying, what's your accent? Talk some more. I like it. Broderick was looking like, wait, what? It kind of like he was jealous because when they both got into the bed with her, he was even saying, oh man, you know, I thought I would have you all to myself. That was pretty funny. So on the plus side, it looks like Catherine is finally ready to bring Candace down. But one other nitpick, didn't Rocky tell RK that he already had a plan and was going to send somebody after her? What happened to that? And even though I'm glad that Catherine is finally going strong after Candace, she is unaware that she's potentially the next future first lady. So I feel like this plan may backfire. This isn't going to be good. But I will say it is good. It is fun to see this side of Catherine. Excuse me. But it kind of goes back to an inconsistent way of writing her. Like, you know, oh my gosh, she killed Jennifer Salison. Oh my gosh, she's getting a divorce from Jim. And then next thing you know, she's happy-go-lucky, setting up setting up Hannah with Derek, acting like everything's fine, doing what's tough for her, which is sending Wyatt to jail, but then at the same time not fessing up to her crime of murder, then having an I don't give a crap attitude about everything. Now all of a sudden, you know what? I'm the one running this show. You're going to get in bed with me or I'll have you deported. It's just like, well, it's kind of weird, but whatever. I really like it though. So this was definitely one of my favorite scenes of the episode. Now let's just talk about the overall episode. Has my score of an 8 out of 10 changed? Let's just talk about the entire thing. So yeah, we pretty much dissected this episode from start to finish. Pretty solid. Yeah, like I said, I don't really think of it much of a season premiere due to the fact that it really didn't have... It was definitely a setup episode for what's to come, but like I said before, looking at the production number of the episode, the fact that it started with previously instead of last season, yeah, this episode to me was a kickoff for 2019, so I'll treat it as such. So I think with everything being said, you know, my nitpicks like, you know, Hannah, you know, pretty much blaming everything on Mitch and guilt by association. Remember how when she said, you know what, look, Catherine, I like working with you, you're my friend, but you're still married to that man. So with everything he said and done to me, I'm not dealing with this anymore. So pretty much cutting off all ties to Catherine just because of her being married to Jim, just like pretty much, you know, shoving Mitch out of the hospital, not physically, but pretty much, you know, wanting nothing to do with him just because of the fact that he's related to the people that allegedly put her son in the hospital, even though he's done everything in his power to try and prevent it from happening. And then also the fact, you know, just a little nitpicks here and there, you know, the whole dialogue between Rocky and Catherine, and you know, some certain just small inconsistencies about things. I think I want to stick with the 8 out of 10. I think an 8 out of 10 is a fair score. Definitely a rewatchable episode, I will say that. And like I said before, I'm really looking forward to what's to come next week in the episode Battle for the Past. So with that being said, folks, I think this is somewhat like of a mega review, if you will, like, you know, including clips from various things instead of just talking about the episode. If OWN and the Haves and Have-Nots social media drops those little 10-second clips, I might actually start doing this on the regular. Just let me know what you think in the comments. Would you prefer if I do these more lengthy / in-depth episode reviews? Because to me, this is actually good, because doing more in-depth reviews means I don't have to do as many videos each week, because instead of doing like a 20-30 minute episode review, kind of grazing over things, I can go in depth, meaning that, oh, I talk about theories and whatnot in the episode review, meaning that it's more convenient for you all. I'm not working myself to death trying to get like 20 videos each week, and it's a win-win. So let me know your thoughts on this. Would you like me to do more in-depth videos like this, meaning that they might not always come out Wednesday or Tuesday night? But to be fair though, this week we did get a dump of information. If Loving You Is Wrong trailer, the season trailer for the Haves and the Have-Nots, but each week from now on, it will simply be my episode review and then the trailer breakdown. So they could possibly both come Tuesday night or Wednesday. So yeah, let me know how you like the format of this video. What did you think of the episode? Is an 8 out of 10 a fair score? Were there other things about the episode you might not have liked? And let's just discuss it in the comments below. So with the recording of this video coming to an end, I have already recorded my trailer breakdown for Battle for the Past, my trailer breakdown for If Loving You Is Wrong, and this is my episode review for Speak Through It. And I do feel slightly congested, so I need to stop talking for now and take a well-deserved break. Later today, I will edit these videos, and hopefully they'll all be up between tonight and tomorrow, which is Friday. And then this weekend, or Friday night, depending on how I feel, my Season 6 trailer breakdown for the Haves and the Have-Nots will be airing. It is something I haven't recorded yet because it will take a bit of time, but that video is coming. So thank you all so much for the support. We are close to 60,000 subscribers. I think we're like less than 500 away. Share these videos around. Tell your friends about the channel. The show is back on the air. So if you don't want to miss out on any new news, tell them about the channel. Tell them to subscribe. Let's hit 100,000 subscribers this year. Congratulations on making it to the end of this video. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that thumbs up button as well as leaving your thoughts in the comment section below so we can keep the conversation going. On the left hand side of the screen, you should see a picture of Jeffrey Harrington. You can click on him in order to subscribe, but also hit the bell notification icon. That way you don't miss out on any new content. Also, you should see some videos appearing on the screen as well that I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy if you enjoyed the one you just saw. But also, be sure to follow me on social media such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Links to all my social media will be in the description below. And in order to help this channel hit 100,000 subscribers, I'm going to need your help. So make sure to share this video as well as the channel around with all of your friends on your own social media. But once again, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you all in the next video.